All right, everybody, thanks for tuning in to The Biz with D on My Fierce Wings Radio. Y'all already know who it is. If you don't know, you're about to know now. It's the boy David Dwayne. And, of course, right now we have another exclusive interview, but it's with Mr. RL. He was on the show back in July of last year. And if you guys don't know who RL is, he was in the group Next and still is. And, you know, he's doing the damn thing, has a new single out called Booed Up. And he's here with us. How you doing?
Man, I can't complain. Everything's copacetic. How are you, man?
I'm good. Thank you for coming back on the show. We appreciate it.
Oh, no problem. Anytime, man.
So, yeah, I know you got a new single called Booed Up, and, you know, that's definitely why we wanted to bring you on to kind of talk about it, because it's definitely a hot joint. Kind of tell us how you came up with that, because we're just itching to hear about it.
Well, really, man, I've always said that if I did come back, it had to be on the level that I left on, and I've never been one that's really about, you know, just doing any type of records or quote-unquote hit records. I consider myself somebody that makes anthems. I want you to sing along. I want you to remember where you were the first time you heard it. I want you to be able to play my music and remember certain things that attach to the song. So, you know, with things like Wifey, like Just In Case, and Anything for Jaheim, records that I've written, I've always wanted to be catchy phrases that, you know, were timeless. And I think that this is another one of those records.
I definitely think it is a timeless record, something that everybody will be playing for 5 years down the road, 10 years, 15, 20 years down the road, because it has that feel good. Like you mentioned, like Anything Jaheim and Wifey, like those songs right there, timeless records that people are still playing. And you'll constantly see it on Twitter. Be like, oh, wow, I didn't really realize that people were listening to that still, but a lot of people do.
You know, it's funny that it's not only timeless, but it crosses generations, because people are really surprised sometimes by, you know, the big demographic of people that are fans of the music that I've done over the years. We were actually in a meeting with the label, and we were talking about my fan base. Mm-hmm. And they really couldn't believe, you know, there are 18-year-olds that knew me and my music. And I was like, it's just, that's how powerful music is, where people, you know, even that were so young when it first came out, but because it's so recurring, that they still have love for you. And that's what I want now. I want to be able to hear somebody that's 8 or 9 now, 19, singing Booed Up. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Absolutely. And just going into the, you know what, let me not ask you about that, because you mentioned writing, and I just want to know what inspires you to write, because you have pen game beyond, like, all craziness, and I have to say that. So where do you find inspiration to write your song?
You know, I'm going to answer. Somebody asked me a question yesterday, and they said, what do I do about writer's block? And I guess this will kind of answer your question. I stop recording, and I go live, because life gives you enough experiences to write about, or people that you're around that are going through something, you know, and things that you see. The only way you're going to have new subjects to write about is to live. And we were talking about how a lot of artists like working late at night in the studio, and I'm the opposite. I like going in at 10 or 11 and being out by, you know, 4 or 5, maybe 6. And I say that because I'm like, well, you know, the engineer and different people at the studio have families. They might want to go eat dinner with their kids and go to sleep and spend time with their significant others. And the more time you have to live, the easier it is for you to work. And I'd say stuff like, well, look, imagine, you know, I get out of the studio and enough time to maybe hit a movie, hit a club. Right. Even though I don't really go out that much, or do something that now I go in the studio the next day and I have an experience to write about. I might have seen a guy and a girl arguing on the street, you know, as I'm out. And, oh, that's a new subject I can write about. So if you give yourself enough time and enough patience to live and experience things, then it'll be, your canvas will be filled endlessly with different subjects and ideas to write about.
Right, definitely. And that's awesome that you can take, you know, just living life, like seriously just living life, either you being out, possibly working out at the gym or just going to the movies, and just using that inspiration to write your music. And that's great because, I mean, there are artists that do it, there are artists that don't do it. Some people don't know how to really structure a song. So I've got to commend you.
You know why? Because people are trying to be so different,
Mm-hmm.
but when you got a bunch of people trying to be different, they end up all being the same. No one can live your life or explain an experience the way you do. That's what makes music unique. But I consider myself a regular guy as much as anybody can be regular. So I honestly feel like if I write about something that's dear to me, there's at least 1 million people out there that are just like me, that are going through the same thing that I'm going through or that I've seen somebody else go through. So it's relative. If somebody can relate to your song, they want to buy it. They want to hear it because they feel like it's speaking for them.
So kind of just staying on gear with the writing. Are you writing for any artists right now? Because I've seen on Twitter pictures with Mindless Behavior and like just other artists. Are you working with other artists as a writer right now? Or are you just focused as a artist for yourself?
Well, right now I'm focused. I did have a girls group. I recorded an album on them, but I'm such a perfectionist, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it yet.
Mm-hmm.
I did do Valentine's Girl for Mindless. Those are like my little brothers.
Wow.
Nephews, but I also have a record on the new album. I thought it was the first single. They told me it might be the second. Walter Millsap is really like my little brother. He's the guy that discovered them and put the group together. So that's why you see pictures. They come to the house and hang out and stuff like that. Those are the little homies. I have a record on the album that's called Ready for Love, the new album coming out. I'm not going to lie, it's incredible. When I tell you that it's some timeless music, and I think that a lot of younger artists get caught up in doing records that they won't be able to do in 5 or 10 years because they outgrow them. This isn't one of those records. I really wanted to give them something that could be their anthem, and I'm happy about it. And those guys are so talented, man. It's crazy. But as far as other artists, I did the record for them because, like I said, Walter Millsap is like a little brother. But I've been so focused. I was working on the next album, but I stopped that. We had done like 25 records. I got a new mixtape coming out. I did 22 records for that. And then for my album, I did 60. So
wow,
that's over 100 records
all the time.
Exactly. So I was really so focused on those things. And then, again, the girl group, I did 23 records on them. So that's 120-something records right there that I've done. And that's been in the last year. So I've been so focused on that lately that unless I really know you and you call me about a record, I'm not really going out soliciting and trying to get on other projects. You know what I mean?
Right. Understandable. Because you have that track record and you got so much time and invested in different projects, your own projects. I mean, you are constantly in the studio. I mean, we see it on Twitter. If you're not in the studio, you're working out, or you're with your family at that, too.
Yeah, I mean, you got to always, like I said, it's always about living. If you can live and find time for yourself and for the people that you care about, that'll give you enough things to write about and enough fuel to make it through anything. Because there are days that I don't want to be in the studio. I don't want to get up at 5 a.m. and go to the gym. But I can look back and think of what I'm working for. My son called me yesterday and said, "Dad, I got my license." That was basically saying, "Dad, get ready to buy me a car."
That's awesome. And I know you definitely have to be, like, happy and, like, proud.
Yeah, and scared at the same time. I think any parent, my only child, he's 17. Luckily he's into sports and working hard and doing all those good things. He's a well-rounded kid. But, cars are, a beautiful thing when you use them right, but it's also dangerous. So I'm sure that I have the same fears of any parent that has a freshly licensed child.
Right. Definitely. And you mentioned the fact that you wrote Valentine's Girl for Mindless Behavior. I'm sorry, I'm like gearing back to that. But seriously, RL, are you out of your mind? Because that song is like life. Like, I didn't know that you wrote that. I listened to that like crazy. I'm like, damn, this song is hot. Who wrote this?
Crazy. What the best part of writing that record for me was, people don't know that I had a record deal for rapping before it came out as a group. So being able to write the raps for the guys, Ray Ray's part was like, I said, I'm not saying that I'm ready for a relationship, but you can be my V-Day. Oh my God, that was my favorite part, to be able to write a rap and hear it. I wanted to rap it so bad, but I'm not a rapper anymore. I'm retired, so it was the funnest, man, and they delivered it incredibly. So yeah, I'm excited. I was really happy.
They did, and let's kind of talk about the deal that you had as a rapper. I didn't know about that. Can we kind of dive in talk about that experience?
Yeah, well, what happened was Tilo, my former group member, the elder statesman of the group, his godmother is Ann Nesby. So she took us before we ever came out. She was like a vocal coach. But she took us to a performance at a college in Chicago. It was like one of those things for labels, when they come out and see you perform. And Mercury Records saw us perform and asked about me as a rapper and asked would I be open to just signing to the label as a rapper. Of course, I declined because I was totally into being a singer and into the group. But it kind of brought back to the forefront the fact that I had to make a decision when I was probably 13 or 14 that I want to be a rapper or a singer because I was doing both,
Never known, but we heard it here exclusively on My First Wings Radio. That indeed we did hear. That's crazy. But you got the pen game. I definitely think that you should even try to write more rap songs for more hip hop artists, because a lot of these hip hop artists right now, even though you kind of said you want to really focus on your material, they need some RL material. Seriously.
No, right? It's funny to me because people say that my talking voice and my rapping voice is like Nas. I'm not saying I'm a rapper on his level, but I have the same voice. They say there's a little raspiness. So I knew that I didn't want to, come in and try to use the fact that maybe my voice is similar to try to do a Shine and Biggie type thing. I was like, nah, I'll just stay in my lane because I respect him so much as an artist. I'm like, nah, I'm not a rapper. I could never be compared to nothing that great, so let me do what I know that I'm pretty good at.
So let's talk about next. Now, you guys have been touring a lot. How's that touring experience been for you guys so far?
Well, that's kind of at a crossroads now because we had a situation on the table, and I had to really do some deep soul searching to decide what was best for me for once. For the whole duration of the group, even with my solo album that I released, you don't realize I only did that because Next was the only group that had a project out when Clive left Arista to start J. So
that is true.
So I went to Clive and said, okay, well, can we start a new album? And he said, no. He said, but I tell you what, instead of you waiting, let's put out an album on you. So I had all this material, and all I do is live in the studio working. My solo album was more of like school for me. I learned how to record. I learned how to do things on my own. I never had to. So that's pretty much what the solo album was. But it really wasn't me doing anything for me. It really happened on a humbug of me going in trying to negotiate on doing another Next album since we couldn't promote the second one. Right. Well, I decided I can't feel guilty because I'm so driven, and I've got all these sounds in my head and all these songs, and I want to do something about them. And my former group members live in different cities from me, so we can't go in the studio together and do what we really, probably would prefer to do. And I can't work where I send files off or maybe one flies in town here or there. So I really feel like it's time for me to grow as a man now and do things on my own. Will I relive the Next situation at some point? Sure, because we built so much together. But I can honestly say a lot of my next years were some of the loneliest, painful years of my life because no matter how much they embraced me and showed me love, they're real brothers. I was always the odd man out. And I don't think purposely they made me feel that way, but it's impossible. If you have a sibling and then some other guy and you guys are a group, even if your sibling is wrong, that's still the other guy. So it becomes a situation where, families stick together, period. Even if you got a play cousin, that's still your play cousin. And I was never the family member. But, I love them. I wish them well, and maybe, we will do a Next album because, like I said, we have a whole album recorded. And I had a deal on the table, but I had to decide what was best for me for once.
That's true. And that's a good thing that you have to think about you for once versus putting others first, because that definitely is a big issue that you will find in life, and more so just kind of like in the entertainment industry mainly. And I've been in that position where I've put other people's career before mine, or have not been able to find that happy medium to make sure that, they've got stuff going on winning in their career, and then I've got stuff going on winning in my career. So I definitely totally understand what you're saying with that.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's it's all about growth. And sometimes you grow together, and sometimes you grow apart. I think that Lloyd told me best one day. He said that he was somewhere and he saw somebody he used to know, and they said, "Man, you changed." And he looked at them and said, "Man, you didn't." I mean, I think we're all just in a process of progression and trying to evolve, and you can't feel guilty about growth.
You definitely got to evolve, and growth is so important in life, and I don't think people understand that. So you mentioned the fact of having a deal on the table, and I know that you just signed a deal. How did that all come about? And congratulations, might I also add.
I appreciate it. Well, actually, an executive that used to be at a major record label that I've known for a long time, we would always be in passing. And before, she had another R&B artist that I knew as a client. And I had done some records for them, and we always talked about connecting, but I really wasn't sure or even confident enough of coming out on my own again. So people would come over to my house and come to my studio, and I could play them 50 records that they felt like should be out now. And I'd be like, "Nah, it's not finished. I need to do more. I need to make it better," because I'm a perfectionist. She came by one day and said, "No, what are you doing? Give me some of these songs." So I gave them to her, and I found out that she had been working with an independent label out here in Atlanta. She became the GM. It's a great label, Big Play Entertainment, BPE. They had YC, which of course is Racks on Racks on Racks. So, and they have another artist named Dose who signed to Def Jam, through Desert Storm, and another rapper who's actually featured on Boot Up, which is Taylor J. And I take pride in having him on my record because he's from Minnesota just like me. But back to, with the label, I went and met, the guys that own the label. I met everybody that ran the label, and it felt like family. And that's all I've ever wanted to feel. I wanted to feel protected. So my music is so precious to me. It's almost like my children, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I need that, make sure they're in a place, my songs are in a place that people respect them as such and how important they are to me. And that was the perfect place. So we did a joint venture along with, my label, which is Motion Picture Music. And these guys, I mean, when I tell you it's amazing, I mean, top notch. I mean, we shot the video, big budget video yesterday. It was just an amazing feeling to know that I'm in the company of such greatness. So I'm excited.
That's amazing. That really is amazing. And the pictures look dope from the video shoot. Can you kind of tell us the concept of that video and like what we can definitely expect? Because I mean, that quality looks like fucking amazing. Hate to be cursing, y'all, but if y'all didn't see the pictures, go to RL's Twitter at JustRL and take a look, and you will not be mad at me for cursing.
Well, the concept of the video really is where I got the idea for the song is pretty much the concept. All my friends would be, "Yo, we need to go out. Let's go to the club." And I'm like, "Yeah." But then after a certain time, they know once I put on those basketball shorts, they'll call and be like, "Man, you ain't going nowhere. You probably going to be at the crib all booed up. You ain't going out." And I was like, you know what? I'm sure a lot of guys deal with that, where they're talking about, "Oh, I'm going to go out and get celebrity." They look over at the significant other and they say, "You know what? I'm going to stay in." So the concept of the video is really me dressed, on my iPhone, hitting my friends up, getting ready to meet them at the club. And my girl is trying to convince me to stay home. So she comes down dressed like she going with me. And I'm like, "Nah, that's not happening." But then, she finds ways to, seduce me into staying home. And we just chill out and we do fun things, whether it's ghetto games, whether it's Kool-Aid, whether it's popcorn, watching TV. It's really, it's not really a sexual thing. It can be. And in some ways in the shoot, you might see me with my shirt off. It might get there. But in more ways, it's really about connecting with somebody, and just being able to be yourself and just relax. So that's what the video concept is. I think it's going to be a real clean, sexy, fly look, fun, and that's my personality. So I'm excited.
We're definitely excited as well. So when can we expect that video to premiere?
Well, actually, one of the directors called me this morning talking about they woke up in the middle of the night looking at footage, so they're excited as well. I think that we're trying to get it in by the 20th because I have a really big show out here in Atlanta on the 24th.
Okay.
And I know we're getting ready to go for ads on the record. The record hasn't even really been released yet, but, I got articles on thesource.com and different media outlets where, people are really showing me love with the record already without it being out yet. So I really think once you get to see the clip and hear the song It's Gotta Relate, I think it's another anthem on our hands.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is an anthem, and we'll definitely be playing that joint on the show. I think, the fact that you're coming back strong with, that real feel-good in the music that we all remember from, the 90s, I think that is, just incredible, because we need that in the industry. I mean, not saying R&B is, the new R&B is, oh, my goodness, but, we got to get that good thing back. So it's good that you decided to, hit us with this joint, Booed Up. And if you guys haven't checked it out, check it out. Go Google it. It's on RL's Twitter. I mean, it is a phenomenal joint.
I appreciate that.
Not a problem. So with the album, what differently from the album versus the mixtape can we expect?
Well, the mixtape is more fun. It might, I'm a little more risque with the mixtape. The mixtape called The Life. And it's just really about having fun, not caring, just enjoying yourself. And I really used for the theme for this one was a lot of rap samples. I would sample somebody on the hook to where if you play the record, even though you don't know the song per se, when you hear a certain part of the song, you go, oh snap, and you start singing along because you know that. Eventually after playing the mixtape, enough, you'll hopefully sing the whole record, but I know from first listen, there's certain songs you'll sing along. And then there's other records that you'll really go, did he really just say that? Did he really just put that on this song? And you'll laugh if you're not a prude or if you, don't take yourself too seriously. On the album is entitled 5:15 because I was born at 5:15 a.m. and I went into this project. Have you ever seen the movie Groundhog Day?
No.
Okay, well, that movie is the guy wakes up every day and it's the same day.
Okay.
And I went into this album was I wake up every day like I'm a brand new artist. I've never sold any records. I don't have any platinum hits. I've never written any records. I go in like it's my first time in the studio on every song. And that's why it's called 5:15. I think that this is like a rebirth for me. And I call it my debut album. This is my first album to me. I've never done an album. I don't look at Next. I don't look at any of the records I've written for any other artist. This is the first album to me. I went into this like it's the first thing you'll ever hear from me.
That's a great mindset to have with the new project. Like it's brand new me, brand new image, brand new everything. Like that's good. Good way of thinking.
It's funny because I really don't consider it a brand new me to the extent of trying to be different. I consider it me finally getting to be me. Because I never was really comfortable with myself for a long time. And to be honest, I've suffered from low self-esteem since I was like 5 years old. So for me now, finally getting the confidence to feel like, what, I can do this. I don't need, anybody to tell me what I can and can't do. I went in the studio and just closed the door and I just poured my heart out. I really hope that the world loves it.
Definitely. And I think that they will love it because, you definitely are doing the kind of music that everybody wants to hear and is constantly stressing to, putting out there on Twitter or whatever it is, saying, we want this sound, we want that real good feel music. I think it's definitely going to be a success, mixtape, album, and anything else that your heart desires to go and shoot for. Seriously, I have so much faith in you because you're doing it. You've been doing it, but it's not a problem. Well, RL, thank you so much for coming on the show again. Any final remarks or any other projects that we didn't quite dive into that you wanted to tell us about?
Well, I just really want to say, man, I really appreciate you, talking to me again. I'm excited. It's crazy because people used to always ask me, you need to go out, you need to be seen. People need to see that, because, we say 90s music. We really came out in late 97, early 98. So people think that I'm 45 when I'm 35. So people have always said, you need to go out. People need to see that, you're in shape. People need to see you, you're doing stuff. That's how you stay relevant. I never really like going out because people will walk up to you all the time. So what you doing now? And I don't want to have to tell people. Now I'd be more comfortable to be able to go out and hear my record in the club. Not one of the older records, one of my new ones. And that's all I've been waiting for. So now I can, walk around with my head held high with new things. I don't live in the past. So I just really want to say thank you so much for letting me usher in this new beginning for me with 515 and Boot Up. And I'll tell you what, you'll interview me before the Grammys and things like that. I won't forget all the outlets like you guys that really give me a platform to talk about my art. That means the world to me. I don't care what level I get on.
Thank you, and I appreciate that, because you definitely did remember that little interview that we did back in July. I was like, really? Like, that was like for like a good 5 minutes. You were like, yeah, you asked me about that I wanted to do something with Kelly Rowland, and I completely forgot. Like, I just listened back to it today, and I'm like, well, damn, I totally did say that. I think I'm trying to get everybody to collab with Kelly for her new album.
I actually hit her up because I have a duet that I really wanted to get her or Brandy on. But if not either of them, I'd probably do Dawn. But it's a record on the album. I sent it to Brandy already, to her people. I'll probably call Kelly when I get off the phone. Now that I think about it, she was actually supposed to be in the Boot Up video, but her schedule was something that she couldn't do it till March, and I couldn't wait till then. So maybe I'll get her in another one. But yeah, she was supposed to be in that video.
Guys can create like a wave together. Not like you don't already have a wave, because you got your own wave. You've been had that wave, but you're doing it the way that you really want to do it, in the way that you haven't done it before.
Yeah, and for me, the only other duets I've done are the Deborah Cox and the Destiny Child, If You Leave Right. So, this will be another. Talking about the If You Leave?
Yeah, and I told you that before.
Yeah, you told me that you liked that one before, because, that was like the first record I got to really represent Minnesota, because I was like, call 612-555-2422 to find you. That was my joint right there.
I think that was everybody's joint. I'm surprised you just bust out sing. I
hadn't listened to the record in years, and I think I was on YouTube or something. I seen somebody posting about it, and I was like, oh yeah. Sometimes I've done so many records that I forget, and I have to, somebody will play something. I'm like, oh yeah, and somebody say, do you remember this record, or can you sing the part from this one? And we perform certain records so much that, I remember somebody requested I sing "Good Love" from, I think it was the Brothers soundtrack, and I couldn't remember the words. I had to find the track, listen. Somebody had asked me about the hook. I couldn't remember. I was like, man, I gotta brush up my skills again.
You know what? And that just this has actually brought me two questions. Previously, what you said, is it often, like, is it kind of common for you to forget words to, like, material that you...
Only on one song.
Okay.
And it's Butter Love. And the reason I forget not that I forget the words, I forget which verse goes where, because they're exactly the same melody. When I write, they're usually close to the same, but not exactly the same. Secondly, because that's one of the only Next records I sing the whole thing. Even though I wrote a majority of the other records, that's the one I lead the whole song. So I can't just say, well, I'll remember my verse, because they're both mine. But there have been times when I might come out and sing the second verse and the first verse spot, and, all of a sudden we have backgrounds on the track, and it messes up. But what I did is I said, okay, well, I'm going to cut the record for the show. I'm only going to sing one verse. So that way I don't have to remember both. I kind of cheated. I can't lie. That's an insider right there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I can definitely relate to that, because I have a song, because I'm an artist as well, and I constantly, even when I was recording it, because I had recorded it, I had the song for so long, I forgot that second verse. And I mixed the first verse and second verse, and I'm like, oh my goodness, for live performances, I need to just mesh these together and call it a day. Do not get me doing a full song, no acoustic session, nothing, because it will not work that way.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened to me.
And it's kind of crazy because, like, damn, I sang that song so many times. I fell in love with it. People enjoyed it, but it's just like you can't remember everything in life and everything that everything that you've done, but not like the worst. Like, I mean, you get older, you start to forget shit.